popular saying out there. It goes, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. Now, if you're a successful professional nurse and you're making a decision like quitting your stable staff job to go prancing around the country as a gypsy nurse, well, I'll say that takes some preparation. So the most crucial step is to do your research. Start now while you're still employed. Start before you ever step foot outside of your staff job and learn as much as you need to know. Soak up all the information. I've worked in this industry for over 5 years. I still don't know everything, but there's a lot to know. There's a lot you can't know beforehand. Welcome to Travel Nursing Insider. I'm Angelina, and I hired travel nurses as a senior travel nurse recruiter for multiple agencies for over 5 years. So I don't work in the industry anymore, so I'm your advocate now. I want to educate and empower traveling nurses to take hold of your career. I've seen so many traveling nurses and I've met a ton in person, and let me tell you, there's a huge difference between being a traveling nurse and being an informed traveling nurse. There is a sense of confidence and power that comes with being informed. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. You'll be the first to know when I release new content. The first step is to research, to start now. The first thing that you should research is taxes and tax guidelines. Pay particular attention to IRS publication 463. This goes over your travel expenses and what you can deduct and how you can deduct those expenses. There's a lot that has to do with taxes when you become a traveling nurse. I did another video on this, and I talk about the travel nursing stipend and non-tax income. You might want to go check out that video. You should also research the hospitals in the area that you want to travel to. So do you want to work for a level 1 trauma center, a teaching hospital, a small rural community hospital? You know, what are you feeling right now? What do you want to explore? So you can go on multiple websites and learn about the hospitals. You can also ask fellow traveling nurses about this and really learn about these hospitals. Licensure requirements vary by state, and it can take various amounts of time to obtain a license, and most agencies can't even submit you to be considered to contracts in a certain state until you have a license in hand. So go online and research the requirements to get a license in whatever state that you want to travel to. Now, the pay package breakdown is also something that's super confusing. So you'll want to know the industry jargon and totally understand your contract. I had a nurse email me the other day, and she was telling me how she's getting paid so much less than her staff job, and she just doesn't understand how traveling nurses make so much money. And I was like, let me see your contract. And she was actually making a lot more than her staff job, but she was just looking at the taxable hourly rate and comparing that to her staff job and not taking into consideration her entire pay package. So that's something to inform yourself about and to totally understand, you know, that you need to look at the entire contract before you can make a judgment on, you know, how much you're making overall. And contracts, they vary by state, they vary by agents. So a per diem is an allowance that is paid to you non-taxed for lodging, meals, and incidentals. And this is mandated by the GSA. So you can go on the GSA website and search to find out what the amount is for the city that you'll be traveling to. And by having that information, you'll be able to tell if the agency you're working with is paying you the max amount allowable for per diems. If they're not, then you can negotiate to get the max amount or to at least get close to it. And you should also be wary if they're paying you too much non-tax money, because that is a huge red flag to the IRS. Recruiters. You'll want to start researching recruiters early on, because like I've said before over and over again, a good recruiter is worth their weight in gold. And yeah, there's certain perks and certain benefits that are all different throughout every agency. And you know, a lot can be negotiated with your recruiters. But keep in mind that a recruiter is the person that is between you and your job. So you'll want to work with someone who you can trust, who you feel comfortable with, and who is transparent. And the best way to find great recruiters is through word of mouth and through referrals. So reach out to other traveling nurses who have worked with recruiters and ask them who their best recruiters are, who they would recommend. You can reach out to me. I know a lot of recruiters throughout the country who have been recommended to me by traveling nurses, and I'm happy to share those contacts with you. The job market for travel nurses, it varies drastically, state by state, city by city, even seasonally. So you'll want to start researching the different pay packages and the different amounts that you'll be earning in these areas that you'll be traveling to. So the best way to do that is to inquire with fellow traveling nurses. So get to know the travel nurse community. There's various outlets to do so. And start learning what their pay packages are in these different areas. So, some states are just notorious for paying low. Places like Virginia, Kansas, Florida, and some states are notoriously known for paying higher amounts. So places like California, Washington State, Texas, Minnesota, places like that. So it's important to inform yourself on this and know what you're getting into as far as the pay packages and the job market. When is the boom area in that area? So here in Seattle, we experience a boom in the travel nurse industry in the summertime because it rains here all year. But in the summertime, a lot of people come here, so we need more travel nurses. So pay attention to those sorts of things. Housing costs also vary by area. Now, California, it's notorious for paying high wages, but they're also notorious for having high costs of living. Same with here in Seattle. So you'll want to make sure that you'll be able to afford housing because, housing is not free. Even though agencies advertise that, it's not free. It comes out of your pay package. It affects your bottom line. So you'll still want to research housing costs in your area. And if you can, find your own housing. There's a lot of expenses that come with being a traveling nurse. You'll have to maintain a home back in your tax home area. So you'll need to make sure that you can afford housing in the area and afford to pay for your permanent home. You can research housing costs by looking on Airbnb or VRBO, inquiring with people who live in those cities. You can also search on Craigslist, even do a reverse search on Craigslist. So finding your village or finding your tribe is so important in all walks of life. It's important to surround ourselves with like-minded people. So networking and making friends within the travel nursing industry before you become a traveling nurse, I think it's a very important step. And I've recently stumbled across an Instagram and a Snapchat that is super cool and interesting. It's called Travel Nurse Takeover. And on Snapchat, they're called Travel Nurse TO. And they are a Snapchat channel, I guess you would say, where individual travel nurses take over the Snapchat for the day or for the week, and they share their life with you, and they share their stories and their adventures with you, and it is so good to watch and super interesting. So that's a good way to get a little sneak peek into the life as a traveling nurse before you decide to make the huge leap to become a traveling nurse. And I'm also on Snapchat now, super excited about that. I'm going to be sharing multiple tips and advice, answering questions on there daily, so you don't have to wait a whole week to see these videos. So I am on Snapchat now. I'm under Travel Nursing IN. So Travel Nursing IN. You can also go to my Instagram page, Travel Nursing Insider, and take a screenshot of my Snapchat code on there and find me that way on Snapchat. So that's a super easy way to find me. If you have questions or you want to get to know me better, please reach out to via email or comments below, travelnursinginsider@gmail.com. I love getting emails. They make me super excited, and I really like to help you and give you advice. Also, connect with me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook under Travel Nursing Insider. And if you're a nurse, if you're a traveling nurse, thank you so much for changing so many lives. You're changing lives that you don't even know you're changing. And I so appreciate you, and thank you so much for all that you do.